Hello, all. It's my privilege to have two experts in cybersecurity as part of the MCCIA cybersecurity initiative. Both of them have been very actively involved in supporting us. We have Rohit Srivastav, who is the co-founder of CAS Cyber Ventures, and Rohit also is the chair of the advisory committee of the cybersecurity initiative. We also have Sanjay Bhargav. Sanjay Bhargav is a veteran in the IT industry, has over 30 years of experience, predominantly in the financial services sector, and more importantly, cybersecurity in financial services sector. And Sanjay is helping us out on mentoring the academia track of the cybersecurity initiative. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Sanjay, I'll start off with you first. It's been a very long journey, and you've been with one of the sectors which is probably the most regulated. There is financial risks which are there, and you have built your career around cybersecurity in the financial sector. So, give us a brief about how things have evolved over the years.
See, I started my career around in 1986, but initially there was no talk of cybersecurity. But the first experience I got with cybersecurity was when I was working on a banking product and implementing the banking product in a bank. So that got me, insights in terms of what are the gaps and how security can be enhanced. I also got an opportunity to design and work on the architecture of a banking product, which is today working in around 400 different sites as of today. But then that also gave me an exposure on importance of designing security. Because what I felt in the first experience with the product was that security was implemented as an afterthought. People build the product with all the features, all the fancy features, but they forget about the security risk, and then they design, put in what will happen with user ID control, user accesses, authorities, and the responsibilities, two-factor authentication, etc., etc. So then, it has to be designed, and that is the experience I got. And later on, I got it to work in a bank itself, in Japan with Citibank. So I was the chief technology officer for one of their acquisitions called Nikko Trust Bank. And there I got to learn in depth about the entire process part of the security, because it's not only the product security which we have to be concerned about, but then the important thing is awareness, compliance, awareness, policies, and the processes which are followed, because how the product is, especially for software people from the industry, how the product is rolled out after development to production. So that is something which gave me a big insight in terms of the importance of process in implementing security. And later on again in India, when I was with IBM also, again being a huge corporate which has got several software products, and during GDPR compliance, I got to involve with them to understand the compliance of on SPI data, how to ensure that products are compliant, what will happen with when to encrypt the data, how to encrypt the data, and then whether the data has to be encrypted during transition or in static state. So those are some of the important questions which we had. And I also got an opportunity in 2005 to appear for ISACA, for CISA. And there I qualified in CISA in the first attempt, and fortunately topped in Asia Pacific. So that is something which summarizes in terms of what all I have been doing with security.
Excellent to hear the journey, and I'll come back to you on how you went about your learning path and certain tips that you would like to give to the young listeners on this particular session. So, Rohit, over to you. I have known you as the 1-800 cybersecurity as when it comes to the city of Pune. So, tell us about your journey and how you have evolved over the time, and what is your current focus.
So thanks for having us here. The discussion dates back to the college time when I started my formal education in this line. And during our times, cybersecurity was not a core subject. So it was majorly on IT infrastructures. And the first year was where you learn both software development and the IT administration. Second year, you had an option to pick up a specialization. The first reason why I picked up specialization of IT infrastructure management was because I didn't want to code. I was really lazy on that part that I didn't want to do, but realized 10, 12 years later that you can't skip that. You still need that skill set. But that was the first reason, and that my own interest in cybersecurity. So I just went that I would go closer to the cybersecurity, go to the infrastructure, start managing it from there. So that was formal education in that line, that learned something on managing the whole operating system, managing the whole networks, learning the core basics of it, and then from there get into. Initial start of the career was because security jobs were not there at that point of time, so to say. Started the career as system administration role, but very soon I jumped over towards security. The first exposure I got was into wireless security. So wireless security, creating attacks, creating defense mechanisms, and this was a startup. So when I joined, the company was a 40 people company. So the reason was that I would learn more here. The entrepreneurial bug was there early on, but wanted to get some experience in market. So that's why I joined this 40 people company, learned with them, and got an opportunity to get my hands wet into other areas. Help the company in part sales activity, post procurement deployment activities, a few interviews at campuses to go and talk to people. So got a exposure into multiple area, and that was the beginning of the journey that, okay, now from here I should get into running my own startup, so to say. It was not a very fancy limelight word to be an entrepreneur at that time, so we always call it getting into business rather than getting into entrepreneurship. Just why I was on the verge of it, and by luck and by efforts of past life, got the Commonwealth Games of Pune as a project. So I've headed the games technology vertical as director technology. I was there managing the complete IT infrastructure and security of a games time technology, which is we call 99.9% uptime. But games time is something where you don't have that. You have 100% uptime. You can't ask Usain Bolt to run again because the camera did not work. So that kind of real-time infrastructure, and that actually kicked a lot of passion that this is something more interesting to do. So with Commonwealth Games ending in Pune, I switched over to Delhi for the Commonwealth main games. Was there for a 1 year time period, but that was the time we established the infrastructure for the complete Delhi, connecting all the various stadiums for their video feeds, for their games feed, for the technology feed, coming up to a central place and managing all of that. By the time I left the games, we had a team size of 3,500 people in IT. The rest, everything was apart. But that was the exposure. Came back to Pune, 1 year stint in Delhi, came back to Pune, and then I said, okay, now is the time. Nobody's giving me a job, and no other offer I'm accepting. I have to get into running my own firm. I started doing something called as India's first hackers conference. Although it started just before the games, it was back in 2006 when I started first ever hackers conference in India. So I was summoned by the local police commissioner on the first day that, who are you and how can you get in all the hackers from across the globe to come to Pune and discuss hacking, because hacking was a very bad word at that point of time. I was under observation by a lot of agencies as well during that time. But what helped in that case is the people understood, and the same city police commissioner was the chief guest for the next year when he saw that everything is good and these are good people doing interesting activities. So had a lot of community effort and activities during that time. And then the entrepreneurial journey started from there.
So maybe before you go into your current thing, the word hacker, and you did mention about it, that it is not necessarily viewed as a good term. But if you actually look at the student community, if I interact with the students, one of the things that they first thing say is that I want to do hacking. So give a little bit color onto that and give the positive side of it and how it can potentially be used to build the type of skills that we are really looking at.
So that was one of the motto as well when we started this company and I got into my entrepreneurial journey that I will run companies from here. That one of the motto was to tell people that hacking is nothing wrong. And practically, when you go back to the IT industry and with your experience with so many developers and people, you would realize people would say, oh, I was trying to do something, it was not working, so I just added a quick hack and I was able to do it. We use hack as a very common lingo in the world, whereas the idea is understand hacking in a very simple word, which is called as jugaad. I did some jugaad in my code and it started working. Or I did some jugaad in the main application, the way it was supposed to work. My work is not happening, so I just added that jugaad and my started happening. So hacking in real sense is that. Now comes the intent behind it. And why college students get too attracted towards it is that, okay, if I do hacking, if I learn hacking, I'll be able to hack into my girlfriend's Instagram account. So that's not hacking, that's a crime. But hacking was a real typical management of an application to make it work the way you want it to. Put a hack into the SQL database so that it can absorb more amount of data into the same database or onto the same drive. Hacking was just that. And this was one of the effort during the initial days. I had to explain it to a lot of people that when I'm doing hacking, it is not something wrong. It is the right part of hacking. And then people started differentiating things between ethical hacking versus unethical hacking. That's again coming in from a marketing effort of a company who started offering ethical hacking as a certification. But people understood. In general, people started understanding that, okay, ethical hacking, you're doing it rightly with permission for a company. So even today, when students learn these skills, the first thing they want to do is try to break into the college system itself so that they can increase their scores, which is the unethical part of it. The ethical part of it would be
a crime as well.
It's a crime. It's a crime.
We have to let them know that this is a crime.
And
do not attempt.
Interestingly, there have been cases where people have been arrested for these kind of activities. The students have been arrested for these kind of activities. So that's where the difference started coming in. Initial part of my career, my life was also same, very inquisitive about this thing. So I opened up an EXE, changed the way so that it will not ask me for a license key and then it will work free of cost for me. All of those experiments during the graduation days. But what actually worked was all those boring lectures of faculties and instructors at the master's degree, where they shoved the ethical part of it into your head so much that you started drifting toward that, okay, let's identify what's not right, what's right, and let's keep doing the right thing. And that's what is a urge to all the students as well. It might sound very fancy that, oh, I'm a hacker. And even now, but our days, one thing was very popular. Do a few tricks, go to the local police, help them out in a few cases. You will be called as cyber expert, and then you will go to television, you will give interviews, and suddenly you are in limelight, and mom and pop are very happy that, oh, my kid is coming on TV, he is cyber warrior of the country and he can protect the country. Good enough. Do that only after you have acquired the right knowledge. That's one of the things we should say.
I'll come back to CAS and the work that you're currently doing. But Sanjay, when we were discussing, and especially when you worked with some of the largest banks, cybersecurity is very expensive.
Yeah.
And it is expensive in the context of machines, its context of people. Give a little bit of color, because it will also give a perspective around the type of effort that goes into it and the type of expertise that people need to build in to be involved in this field.
Sure. See, security is as strong as your weakest link in a. So you might have the strongest security everywhere, but any weakest link can expose your security. So implementing security in a bank or any large institution starts with awareness. So an awareness is via the IT policies and various security policies which they have. Again, writing those policies and ensuring compliance with those policies. So that is the first step of ensuring that everybody understands what are the do's and don'ts. For example, password sharing, strong passwords, ensuring that all the where you keep your laptops, how you secure your laptops, etc., etc. So it starts from there. But then next step is your infrastructure security, network security, ensuring that right firewalls are there, your right Wi-Fi security is there, LAN security is there. If open LAN ports are there, if anybody can connect any device over there, any $10, $20 device also can create an open network for you. So those again have to be ensured that, how you control and ensure that no unauthorized device is connected. Then it comes to various desktops and servers, etc. Those needs hardening. And with every release, a new version which comes, again, you have to ensure that those are tested. So it's not an easy task, Every time a new version of security patch is released by Microsoft, you have to assess it, test it, that make sure your product is going to work on it, then only release, So that is the infrastructure level of compliance which is required. And that costs a lot of money. And that comes to your application security. Whatever application you are deploying, that needs to be tested thoroughly. So you need ethical hackers to do their hacking. You need this pen testing to ensure that pen testing, it is there. You need to also do vulnerability scans, ensure that all that is done, tested, and then it is released. And again, during the release, strong processes have to be used, that no unauthorized code is being released. So you need independent people. Today, people talk of DevOps and automation, but again, it's a process which has to be ensured to make sure that the product which is going into production is going right. And that, so entire chain is important. And last but not the least is, again, you have to have controls in place and people who are looking for, if any incident happens, how to manage that incident, how to escalate that incident, how to protect yourself once the incident has happened, how to take control. So again, all of them are detailed subjects. It requires different skills.
Also, there is a cost involved in training people,
yes,
as well as monitoring the actions of people, and stuff like that. So give a
lot,
little color.
Again, this is something which generally people don't like to be followed up. HR department keeps following up. Security is there. So I have seen in companies where you have to read the policy. Now people will just scroll through the policy and not be aware. So companies again need to write tools where people are tested. You have to appear and random questions are given. There are scenarios given. You have to appear, give right answers to the scenario, appear and then pass that. So those scores are given. And each manager, if I am the manager and I have 40 people or 100 people under me, I have to ensure that everybody is complying within that time period. If it does not happen, you need to it's a non-compliance against you. So entire process is built over there from compliance, and there is a separate compliance team which is doing all this kind of audits, and it is taken very seriously if you do not comply. It will go periodic reviews with the management. These are the parameters which are there. They look at parameters of how much compliance is there, because globally from top to bottom everybody is involved. If this becomes a global exercise, you have to ensure, and this is where the cost is there, because I guess this would be the maximum cost, though hardware, etc., hardening, etc., will cost you more money, but educating people is important, and this happens continuously. It's not only one time, when employee joins, every 3 months, every 6 months, you have to do that. And if any change in policy is there, again, you have to do that. If an incident has happened, again, you have to do that. Yeah. So this is something which you have to keep in mind, that this is people, employees and students also in the colleges where they are working, they have to ensure, or studying, they have to ensure that they know the policy and follow the policy. Any non-compliance can lead to termination, because security non-compliance or any policy non-compliance is taken very seriously with these companies.
Yeah. So Rohit, you work with a lot of the MSMEs and smaller companies. The experiences that Sanjay has had with very large organizations, but you also work with the small and medium businesses, family-run businesses and stuff like that. How is the level of maturity in understanding and appreciating and also implementing some of these things, more to give an opportunity to our students who are upcoming aspirants in this field, that there is a lot more scope for their services or their products to be deployed in this market?
So one of the biggest aspect with smaller company or MSME type of company is they're constrained on budgets. And one of the biggest support somebody can give them is keeping the cost minimal. Can there be a security level achieved? So when it comes to securing an individual versus a smaller company versus a large company, the cost slowly start increases. But even in the bottom of the pyramid, when you are in MSMEs or startups or family-run businesses, the funds are not very high. So you have to make sure that you're doing more of a process control. You're doing as much as from the people perspective. So the technology cost can be controlled. So it's a PPT, people, process and technology. So if people are aware, processes are good in place, the technology expenses can be controlled. Mm-hmm. The skill set which newer generation can actually have is understand security thoroughly and figure out the option, not always buy the shiny and the latest software to be bought and deployed, but what other can they do to make sure that the company is at level better than what they were day before, and how are they improving from there. That itself has a lot of opportunity. Plus, again, if there are people who are wanting to go ahead and start creating a new product, a new platform, then you have to figure out that it has to be A, easy to use, and B, at a very cost effective manner, so that the smaller companies can actually afford them and use them. What misses out is that skill set part of it, where someone can understand and make them understand. Why would a MSME or a family owned business be aware or come up for security? One of the biggest reason is if the news is out in a pink paper, if the Financial Express or Economic Times kind of paper is publishing something, they suddenly get aware of it.
Yeah. So for the students, as a guidance, one of the things which the students always ask is, which are the tools that I can actually build up skills on? Specifically around if they were to create as a team a startup which can offer some of these services while they are developing themselves as a cybersecurity professional, are there certain guidelines for them on what all they can start off with? What are the skills that they could focus on and things like that?
See, security is an overlay on top of the infrastructure. Security is not the main business. Security is not the main infrastructure.
Yeah.
So security cannot be the main work of a company. It has to be the support to the main business line. If students understand that, and in their clubs, if they start setting up a small ecosystem, virtual machines are so easy these days, creating a small ecosystem of a small enterprise, a web server, a file server, a DSCP server, talking to each other, create a network, create an infrastructure. Once you create that by your own hands, you will know what has gone into it and what can go wrong. Then try your security expertise on top of it. Can that be protected? Can that be broken into? Create your own teams between the campus. One team is trying to attack the same set of servers. The another team is trying to look how the attack is happening and how can they protect themselves. Even if they do just these exercises, they are good enough for industry, and they would be getting much better response from the industry because they have done a practical hands-on on these things.
Yeah, one thing I realized was there is one thing which is common between all three of us, is that at the very beginning of our career, we got to operate as system administrators or database administrators. Yeah. And I feel that that skill is something which is a very important foundational skill, Sanjay.
Exactly.
We were discussing on this particular topic, on how one can build the foundational aspect. So, you've been interacting with the cybersecurity clubs that we have formed, and just for our viewers, as part of the MCCIA cybersecurity initiative, we have about 40 colleges who we have reached out to, requesting them to set up, participate in this initiative, and as part of that, set up their cybersecurity clubs. The initiative is focusing on helping those cybersecurity clubs, mentoring them, guiding them on various aspects that they can do. And Sanjay has been guiding them on the entire initiative. Rohit and others have been also doing visits to these clubs to guide them. But Sanjay, tell us a little bit more about what has been your experience interacting with these clubs, and what pointers would you like to give to the clubs?
Sure. So, what I've seen is the students are very, very eager to learn about cybersecurity, and that also a lot of institutes have already done a lot of work in this area. But what we are talking to students is not that you need only technical and hacking skills, but you need all various kind of skills are required. So the emphasis which I am giving to students is that there are huge career opportunities. You have got areas where without any technical knowledge also you can get involved into cybersecurity. People who have got from law background, they can be involved. People from finance background, they are also required in forensics. So all from career opportunities perspective, it is enormous. You don't have to be a top-notch hacker, because even there hacking also, if somebody is very good at coding, might not be very good at hacking. So hacking is only maybe 5-10% of the entire, maybe, or even less than that. But more important is the bigger palette which is available for these students to experience. Now, what I have seen over there is students want to do a lot, and what we would ask them to do is, because to start with awareness, because biggest part is how to make everybody aware, and that is the first. Defense is important, and to defending yourself, it starts with defending yourself defending your family members, and then defending the community which you are working, and the corporate and companies. Because so aim is that students are able to propagate their knowledge with the family members, with their friends, increase the awareness. That is one important goal. Second is learn about various tools, techniques, and about the whole problem domain, so that they can find employment in those areas. And third is being able to bring solutions which will innovate and bring India to the top. And one more focus which we have for cybersecurity is how to make Pune as the center of excellence for cybersecurity professionals. So we would like to have maximum number of pools, because several GCCs are in Pune. When they look for people, they don't get right skilled people. And today there are several projects which are going on, be it single sign-on implementation, or being GDPR compliance, or in-house testing of applications. Several opportunities are there, and we want people to be available in Pune itself, so that they don't have to look around elsewhere in the world. So in nutshell, we want to provide skills here for India and for the globe.
Sure.
And that is something which we would like to explore. So I have seen a lot of encouragement, and we would like to also, we have announced best security cyber club for cyber club implementation. So first award would be given in the month of December. We have got nominations. We are looking for more nominations. So this is to encourage and have college compete with each other, because once the healthy competition comes in, and that helps in improving the overall awareness, and that's the goal which we have in mind.
Yeah. Rohit, you chair a very interesting advisory committee, and one of the key components in that entire effort has been the leverage of IIT Bombay Trust Lab and the Capture the Flag contest that they've been running. Give a little bit more for the students and the cybersecurity clubs on how they could use that entire infrastructure, and how they can plan it out for their colleges or for the clubs to start with, and then look at a regional contest and things like that.
So this IIT Bombay Trust Lab, which we discussed about, they have created a very nice setup, and it's a unit formed inside IIT Bombay focusing on security and more of a trust around security aspects. So they do very interesting events. There are multiple open source based events. There are multiple technical activities, sessions, and teaching sessions by different professors. One thing which is very active there is a Capture the Flag contest. Capture the Flag is more of creative thinking. I would not call it as ethical hacking or breaking into system. It's more of a creative thinking to solve a problem. The kind of set they create at Trust Lab includes variety of interesting problem statements, where just by knowing a few technical skills or running two tools, you won't be able to cross that level. So you have to have your creative part of the brain working, and then you can learn that. That particular Capture the Flag is replicated into multiple parts. Now we are trying to do that. We had done twice in Pune. We are trying to do that multiple times here. Students from different clubs can actually participate. Even if they think that they will not be able to win it, not a problem. Participate and learn from that. And why not? If you can win the contest, it's even better. That will give you a very nice exposure into this area, that okay, what all can be done, where all is included. The CTF of Trust Lab includes encryption, includes systems, variety of skill set is required. See, whenever somebody from outside looks at cybersecurity, they say, oh, cybersecurity is a domain. Once you get inside, it becomes 20 different subdomains inside. And many a times, many of the domain may not be directly related to each other. The committee which we are talking about, the very created community, we have the legal professionals in that. We have forensic professionals in that. We have chartered accountant and financial professionals in the team. We have variety of people who can contribute in different aspects. One area of security, which is the cyber physical systems. The systems which are connected to internet and can be used would be as big as a windmill or as small as your Alexa and stuff at home. So security is needed everywhere. The reason of creating such kind of a committee was that we will get exposure from all the sides, including the academia, and give out the best to students what they can take. Industry and other people as well, but right now as we are discussing about the student, we want to make them, there's a pool available for a 360-degree view of cybersecurity. So they can leverage that and get help from anybody of our team that, okay, well, how should I look into this aspect? Financial fraud, financial crimes, we have person in that. You need legal guidance that, okay, how can I use my legal learning or legal skill, or how can I take a turn toward legal aspect? You can take and help. I don't want to do a lot of technical, I just understand superficial, but I can manage documentation, I can manage policies, the privacy law is coming up, how do I deal with it? You have people in the community who can actually help you out.
Yeah, so for our cybersecurity club members, in a very important aspect is to be aware of the handbook that we have published. This is the cybersecurity handbook that we have, and there are 3 pages which has a list of all the members of the advisory committee that Rohit mentioned about. It is an opportunity for the clubs to actually reach out to these experts and organize talks. We will also have them on our podcast series at a later stage, but we would definitely look at leveraging these experts. The other thing Rohit did mention about the Capture the Flag contest that IIT Bombay Trust Lab has been running. And a feedback that we have got is that as compared to some of the other cities, Pune has been lagging. So we want to ensure that all of you are aware of this feedback and are all getting geared up when the next contest happens in Pune next year. You are all geared up to participate in full strength. Sanjay, coming to you, specifically around the award that you mentioned. There are various criteria that we have laid down for the different clubs, including how they go about the process, how do they create visibility at the leadership in the institute, how much they go out and create awareness in the community, do innovative things to create the awareness. There are various things that we have laid down, and we are very clear that we want to ensure that people do it and comply to the entire process that we have laid down. So
right.
I would like you to give guidance to the team on how they could potentially go and put themselves at a very high score when it comes to these evaluations.
Sure. So, one of the important things which we have asked all the clubs to do is start with the charter. Okay, we have given them the template to work on a charter. The reason is charter it's a kind of plan which says what they will do and how they will do and what process they will follow. To start with, because that puts them in a controlled manner so that everybody knows what they are doing. And with the charter, we want them to come up with their own plan in terms of how are they going to increase the awareness, what kind of initiatives are they going to drive. For example, poster campaigns or development of various courseware, or the things they can, if they want to invite specialists from companies and corporates or MSMEs or wherever in the world, So I'm sure they have relatives here and there where they can invite them to give a talk. So that is something which we would like them to do. Any research papers, if they can publish, again, that has got something criteria there. If they can develop any solution, tools, technology, where this can go into the industry, that is also welcome. Amount of people they have covered. We want to measure the metric in terms of how, if their club has got 100 people, have they been able to at least go 100 times, or maybe at least 20 times of their population. So if they have reached out to various other students outside the club, the family members, to increase the reach for awareness, and then how frequently they submit their responses to us, because we want to run it as a corporate, where MCCIA gets an update. Because if we don't get an update from a club what they are doing, then how can we award them? Yeah. So we want to encourage them to submit status reports on a timely basis, upload the status so that we can evaluate them. So that also helps them when they go back to the industry, they would implement the similar kind of behaviors. Because if they have doing good job at their company job and they don't talk about it, nobody will know. So if this is again a mechanism where they learn leadership skills, they learn how to talk about the work they have done, improve the communication, and overall improve the capability across. So these are the various things which we are going to measure. There is a list which we have sent it to the club organizers, the faculty, so that they can also check, and then we will evaluate and go in. This would be a monthly award which we'll do, And people will also know how we have selected, why we have selected, so that will help them compete with each other.
Yeah.
One important aspect in that would be, see, these are college clubs.
Yeah,
The students will get out of the campus.
yeah,
How are they creating their whole ecosystem that the newer people will keep coming?
Exactly.
The older leadership is getting out of the club, the newer leadership is getting created. How that whole ecosystem, that will actually be helpful, and
Yeah.
I think that would be one of the very important part of the selection criteria.
So important constraint or requirement we have put when they are starting the club is this club is not for a specific batch. We want a percentage of each batch, the passing out batch and the junior most, plus also maintain the diversity, that if the college has got 50% girls and 50% boys, we want to have similar amount of population, 50% girls and boys representation in the club. And it is not restricted to only computer science. We want the coverage to be from all the branches. So if the engineering college has got several, civil and mechanical, electrical, electronics, we want participation from all. So it's not only a problem for computer science. So a college can have multiple clubs, but they, as to ensure the issue that the consistency is maintained, they need to have people involved from all the streams, all the batches, so that this is a continuous flow. This is not an activity only for 2022, 24, 25 only. It has to continue going from
Beyond
here.
that, yeah.
Absolutely. Rohit, you have authored a few books, and would like you to talk about those books and its relevance in the context of cybersecurity for an individual as well as for organizations.
Okay, so as it happens in anybody who's in the tech industry, your parents and their friends, or in the social gathering, whenever you meet, everybody asks you, "Oh, you are in computer. Can you help me fix this problem on my phone? Can you help me? Can you tell me?" So I had a lot of that. Plus, my experience with cybersecurity was so much that a lot of people started asking me that, "Yeah, I have a new phone. How do I configure it? What should I do? What should I not do?" The first book was actually a book out of frustration of that kind, that let me put everything into one place and give it out to people, that this is a book you can refer to, improve your security, improve your privacy on the today's world. But when I started writing, I was like, okay, this can be made into much better way. So this particular book, the first one, says my data, my privacy, my choice. This is practically a game book where every domain is spoken from 4 different levels. Absolute beginner and novice, non-technical person, going up to really expert in industry. That if you are at this level, these are the things you should be doing. And it's a step-by-step guide with screenshots and other stuff. So like every point, so basic, intermediate, then you can have advanced and expert points. After doing every activity, there is a score next to it. You can pick up the score and start mentioning it at the end of the book. There's a template at the end. By the end of the book, you would realize how much have you configured and what is your security strength. That was the idea, to create this in a game manner. But what we realized when this book came out, and a lot of people who are in industry, in cybersecurity industry as well, when they picked up the book, they said, oh, there were a lot of stuff at an intermediate level or a junior level expertise. I was not even aware of that. Thanks for telling me. Now I have configured it. So it's not like that if you're in IT industry, you may be expert and you would be knowing everything. But at the same time, there are non-tech people who knew and they have already configured it up to that level. So that was the idea to do this book. And this was more of a individual security, personal security, that way. Then I decided that, okay, this is one book done. I will not be able to write any more book. We sat down for more than few years. And then suddenly one thing again came out of our experience in the industry, what we are doing. While we do the strategic consulting for a lot of companies, we realized that the understanding is not available at the top of the company. The leadership is not aware or not fully aware how to handle it. Everybody knows, oh, I have to do something in cybersecurity. I have to take care of security. But how? How would you plan your budgets? How would you plan your domains? How would you plan your roadmap? What is your role? So that was kind of missing. So the second book which we worked out, we wrote it down from the business leader's perspective that, okay, if you are a business leader, pick up this book, go through the book, you would realize that, okay, how do I create a security program or how do I run a security program in my industry, in my company, so that we increase the maturity level, which also cover a lot of areas, but that's completely from a business owner's perspective, the top leadership perspective. So that's the way both of these books came up.
No, it's great, and I think that the chambers like MCCI can play a very active role in getting organizations or industry segments together to understand the impacts and the challenges that they might face. And one of the things which we clearly look at is policy recommendations, especially at a board level, which will actually drive the demand for some of these actions and also ensure that there is good amount of awareness in the decision makers. And books like what Rohit mentioned clearly is definitely valuable. One important aspect which we need to discuss is around the faculty members and how they design the curriculum, the entire program. And in my role as professor of practice at COEP, one of the things that I have been tasked is to look at getting at least 20% industry flavor into every program that is run. And one of the areas that we have picked up is on cybersecurity. And I know, Rohit, you have been involved. Sanjay, you have been also interacting with the... so two aspects. One is on faculty development, as well as giving a flavor on what type of industry flavor can be brought into these curriculums and how can a faculty member take that step of blending the co-teaching or the co-curriculum creation as such. So maybe Rohit can start and then we'll have Sanjay.
So that is one area. Fortunately, I was in the board of studies of multiple colleges since last few years. I was helping them out with creating such content. But of lately, this particular domain of activity is being taken care by my co-founder Alok Karnik. He talks to campuses. He goes to campus. As latest as yesterday, he was with a campus in mid Maharashtra somewhere to teach faculties under the Atal Mission of Faculty Development Program. Teach them that, okay, how do you look at industry? What are we doing in industry? What do we need? And this is something, if you teach to your students, it would be helpful. They will be getting much better absorption in the industry. This is a very standard statement which I've been hearing since very, very long. What's taught in college is not used in industry. What used in industry, people do not learn in college. We have been hearing since long. Yeah. So we have, as a cybersecurity initiative of Maratha Chamber, we have started taking as effort that let's bridge that gap. Let's bring whatever is needed by industry to the students via the faculties and via clubs and other activities, so that once they are facing an interview, at least they are appearing much more smarter than everybody else. They're getting more value, and they are, in our industry term, as you say, they are billable as soon as possible. Yeah. They are more value to the company as soon as possible. That's one of the initiatives which you are trying to pull up.
Sanjay?
Yeah, I think this is important, because what we have seen in the industry ourselves is when we look for hiring people, we don't get the right skills, because companies are looking for tools usage and the students don't have access to the tools. So there are, there's a gap which has to be bridged. So if I'm implementing a single sign-on or a tool which, or even a vulnerability scan tool, the requirement will come that I need experience of these many years in a particular tool. Now, students can never get that. Our people who have those experiences in the tools, again, the attrition is pretty high. They go out. So this is a requirement where we need to help them access some of the tools. We have to, because once they have knowledge about one tool, I think they can learn about other tools, and that is what we have to also tell the corporates. They don't get hung up on a particular tool, that this is the only tool which we need to run. The concept is similar, they can use,
Yeah, and also since you mentioned about the certification that you did, I think the students also can potentially take up some of these certifications.
Yeah, so there are several certifications available.
And faculty as well.
For faculty as well as others, because for example, CISA is one of them. I mean, CISSP is there, and several security related certifications are. They need to get it done from a reputed organization, because that carries weight, So again, because it gives you criteria for anybody between two people if they have to select, So company where they are interviewing, if they see this so-and-so guy is certified, naturally they will prefer that, So that is something which we should encourage, that students should take as many certifications. If we can take up within MCCI, if we can do something to figure out or sign a deal, because these certifications are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So if you can find out certifications from India perspective which can be funded or can be done at a cheaper rate, negotiated rate, that would be helpful for the students as well as for the industry. Yeah, so something which we can talk about, because the industry can sponsor, because for them to hire a 3 years experienced person costs more than if they can get a 1 year experienced person or fresh guy who is already trained on
More
the tool.
skilled on that.
So the cost, they can, whatever they are going to pay to that resource, they can pay for the tool training, So that is something which we can help encourage.
You want to add something?
One thing you touched very nice, that once a student gets out of the campus, and when there is a campus interview or they go out for interviews in industry, everybody's CVs look exactly same. All is the difference is someone has got 78% marks, someone has gone 79, someone has 77. Apart from that, everybody's pretty much similar. What makes the difference at that point of time, if you have then these extra certifications? If you are showcasing your skills in the cybersecurity club, that yes, I was a part of the club, I was managing a club of 30 people, 20 people, these are the extra activities I have done, that becomes even a talking point during interview. The interviewer would like to ask him. See, 3 of us are from industry. We have seen when we take interview, anything different, we start talking about that. And that shows the skill of the person, that shows that this boy or girl is interested in more and improves the chances of hiring.
That's right.
So if people are looking for even good job to be placed, these kind of activities will help them a lot, standing apart from the crowd and being more available, more visible.
So, the important point you made, because what happens with this club is they will demonstrate the leadership skill, working with other people, how to negotiate
the team skill,
teamwork. So all these soft skills which are required for other than technical skills, these are also required. One is to get through the interview and later on being successful after joining the job as well. So these skills would be required when they are in the job also, because security they can't run. Even if awareness, how they go and talk to other people and get them aware is very important.
Yeah. So any parting thoughts, Rohit and Sanjay, as before we conclude?
So one most important thing I would like to say, in college campus, even from the faculty side, the institution side, everybody thinks, let's teach them ethical hacking, let's teach them vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, they will get a job. The reality is the job industry for that in the whole cybersecurity is less than 10%. There are 90% of other areas, and every campus has an opportunity, every student has an opportunity to go look beyond VAPT, go beyond ethical hacking. A lot of other things they can learn, they can do, and get a much better job and much open environment from the industry. That industry will also see that, okay, this particular campus is teaching beyond just the ethical hacking. Students would know more. Let me go to that campus. That will help a lot of campuses, and this students club can actually spearhead that for the company.
Yeah.
Sanjay?
No, I think this is important. Plus, what I always thought is, they have to start thinking big. Students also, the club is only not for awareness and calling people. I also want to prompt them to start looking at why can't they publish papers, and file patents. Because this is something which, if they have a solution, if they have an idea, and if they can, filing a patent would also help them, because, and this is something which will also increase the visibility for the college and the students itself. So this is something which
absolutely a good metric to track would be how many new cybersecurity startups get registered in the incubation labs that these institutes have, and I think that number has not been very encouraging, at least currently. I'm sure these cybersecurity clubs and the interest that we will generate will drive that number higher.
Yeah. And one tip I want to give to everybody, before, and is in security and cyber security, there is a term called TNO, which they have to keep in mind. That is trust no one, and start from there. So this is something which, if they can take it after this meeting or this podcast, that one takeaway which they should remember is trust no one, because that will help them keep them safe,
the mindset,
and for others also, because every step this is important. That do not trust anyone.
I think it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Sanjay, for all your insights and valuable inputs. For our cybersecurity club members as well as faculty members who've been involved, there are a lot many other things that we have listed down in our handbook, including the various knowledge partners that we have. Be it IEEE, especially the IEEE Computer Society, we have ACM, we have NASCOM, and various other organizations which are there, which have a lot of content which can potentially be used. In case you are not aware, the Home Ministry of Government of India actually has published on the website on various aspects of how to be defensive against cybercrime. A lot of those content can be potentially used to create awareness. And I'm sure there will be many more interesting ways by which you will grow your cybersecurity club that we will get to know, and we'll be able to showcase better for the benefit of others that would join the cybersecurity group. So with that, thank you and all the best to you.